Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another tutorial on our software testing bootcamp where we are talking about the fundamental concepts of software testing. As a part of today's tutorial, we are still continuing with our chapter 7, which is to talk about the tool support for testing. And today we'll be looking into the next segment of this chapter, which is 7.4, selecting a tool for the organization or to the project. And here we'll be understanding various factors which are influencing the overall selection process, and at the same time what could be the objectives of pilot project. To talk about, the very first thing is the main principles or the various factors to consider for the tool selection. There has been some benefits and drawbacks, drawbacks, it's more about the risk which we have covered in our past tutorials, but we'll be talking about understanding more on the exact way how exactly you look out for rolling out a process-based tool. For example, generally people think that we just need to know the name, the process, the approach of using a tool. The better you know it, it could be beneficial for the organization, but there is a process right before that, before you can start actually using a tool, right? There are some factors which a test manager needs to consider into account before rolling out a tool to the organization. And being a manager, they pretty much look forward to understand a lot of things, that whether this is something which is going to be beneficial for us, is it the right need what we are looking at, because right now, just before this particular tutorial, we covered there are so many different tools available, but for different purposes. So sometime it may happen you might be shortlisting a tool which may not return you the benefits what you might be looking at. So talking about the main principles or main considerations in selecting a tool for the organization includes: number one, assessment of the maturity of the organization, its strengths and weaknesses. Given that if you're talking about an immature organization, like a startup, a small scale company where we hardly have few members, there we don't have process. And given that the process is not stabilized, the process is not mature, you may not be able to adapt a tool, because a tool generally looks forward to have things being standardized with certain available set of process, rules of writing documentations, etc. So given that an organization is not mature, can not use a tool, or tool is otherwise not recommended to a small scale industry where things can pretty much be done without the tool, but unless you have a process, it's not meaningful. Understanding this technology is used by the test object in order to select a tool that is compatible with the technology. Now the point here is to understand that not every single tool works with every single application. There are different platforms, there are different databases, there are different languages, there are different web services, and there are different tools for different purposes. So it's not necessary that one tool will cater any kind of application in this world. Some tools are capable with particular specific languages like Python, Java, and sort of thing. Maybe some other tools will support .NET or C#, etc. Similarly, if you're talking about interface testings, you may talk about the Postman, you can talk about the REST APIs. So there are different tools which do some amazing stuff with them in order to review and test the same, right? So we need to look forward to what kind of technologies does your application make use of, and how exactly the tool will be supporting that. Evaluation of the tool against clear requirement and objective criteria is another important thing. We just don't select a tool. We need to evaluate a tool against a particular clear requirement, that why do you want this tool? Is this for test management? Is this for automation testing? So you will have a clear requirement identified for it, and evaluating the tool means conducting a proof of concept, which means POC, and it's gonna really be helpful for organizations or the team to understand how this tool will fit our purposes and will this fulfill the need. Considering of whether or not the tool will be available for a free trial period. Of course, the free trial period is more about evaluations where the budget is not allocated for evaluating a tool, because you can spend multiple days evaluating multiple tools. Now say for example, if you are investing 5 days to evaluate one tool, you just don't evaluate one. You may have 5 or 6 tools shortlisted for evaluation, then you are spending 30 days of your timeline and there's no budget allocated for that. Evaluation of the vendor. Given that we now understand there are several risks associated with the vendor side when talking about pulling up a tool, so we must be worried about evaluating the vendor in terms of training, support, commercial aspects, and then see if that will be helping us or a vendor will be available all the time for us to support. Identification of internal requirement or coaching and mentoring on the use of the tool. Do not expect that your team is a master of everything. Sometimes organizations, considering their current automation skills, they think that the team will be able to adapt to any new automation testing tool. Possible, but to a certain extent. It's not necessary every time that if a person knows one automation tools, he or she is capable of using any other automation tool. So do not underestimate. You understand the requirement of internal coaching, mentorship, and other kind of ramp-up sessions which you may have to conduct in order to groom them up. Also considering of various pros and cons of various licensing model, because sometimes you do find open source which might consume some time to set it up, or you may find commercial tools which are easy to set up, but yes, it invites a cost on the license side. Then on top of it, if you talk about various types of licenses, sometimes you get seat license, sometimes you get concurrent licenses. So we need to understand different licensing model also on which it depends. Also estimating a cost benefit ratio based on the concrete business case, that how exactly this new tool is going to return us the benefit compared to the cost which you are investing. But again, given that we are talking about something very different level, that a test manager, given that the person has a lot of experience, will be able to determine all these factors and consider them. Given a tester, as of you are considered right now, you may just have to know this to understand that, hey, there's a process to roll out a tool. It's just not that simple that you go to Google, download the tool and start using it. Adding more on this particular discussion is the second part of it, where we are talking about once you have conducted the proof of concept and probably out of 5 you shortlisted 1, will you just go ahead and install this tool for every single user in the organization and ask them to start using it? Not at all. You will start with something called as pilot project, and the pilot project will be to evaluate the tool in real time. Don't forget, proof of concept, which is POC, is a limited feature evaluation. You only target some specific features what you are generally interested in. For example, a bit on the writing script part, bit on the automation, bit on verification steps, understanding how difficult it would be to write and configure a test, automating frameworks, or talking about reporting methods, different other things. But you don't evaluate 100% options in the tool. So a pilot project is, in nutshell, to use the tool in real time with a real project and see exactly whether this tool will be beneficial to us and what all activities can be supported using this tool, whether this really happens the way we tried evaluating it. Sometimes it may happen that some of the other constraints can say that this tool is not so beneficial. There are a lot of manual effort which are required to let the tool know what they have to do. For example, in order to automate a test, you will have to write the script, you have to prepare the data and feed the tool so that the tool can run the script. So there will be still some significant amount of manual effort required to prepare the data and resources which the tool will use in order to run your automated test. So talking about the pilot project, they can have several objectives to fulfill in order to roll out it to the rest of the organization. So you start always with one project and give it to them right from the beginning and ask them to use to the maximum level, and there are several objectives which we can measure as a part of it, and that includes gaining in-depth knowledge about the tool, understanding both its strengths and weaknesses, talking about evaluating how the tool fits with existing processes and practices. Don't forget again the process as strengths and weaknesses. Maybe your process is mature, but tool may demand something from you. It's not that the tool will change for you. Tool is fixed, tool is rigid. All you have to do is you need to adapt new methods, new process slight changes in your activities, the way you manage data to support the tool. For an example, if tool accepts data in Excel format and you were managing data in Word format, then the tool will not change for you. You have to change for the tool. So evaluating how the tool fits the process and determining what needs to change. Deciding on standard ways of using it. Do not let different teams decide their own way of using the tool. Set up a standard guideline and let the whole organization follow some standard guidelines, so that there are several benefits of defining guidelines of using a tool. Number one, for example, naming convention. Using standard-wide naming conventions help any team to understand what we are talking about. Another thing, if one person quits, the second person can adapt easily because of the standard guidelines, right? And you do understand, looking at any project item, being a project manager, you can pretty much understand, okay, what does, say for example, an epic means? What does a story mean? What does a task mean in your organization? So having a tool guideline being defined will make a lot of sense and a lot of easiness to manage the data on the tool. Also, assuming whether the benefits will be achieved at a reasonable cost. It does not mean that you're trying to reduce the cost. It simply means that what you estimated is it somewhere close by. Because sometimes the recurring costs are more than the acquisition cost. No matter, again, we're not trying to target that acquisition cost should be less than recurring or recurring should be less than acquisition. Not at all. Sometimes recurring costs can be different. You thought it'll be easy, but maybe there is a lot of cost on the maintenance, right? So you understand what would be the real-time maintenance cost after acquisition and will be, something still beneficial to us. Understand the matrices that you wish the tool to collect and report. And we are talking about various reports and gadgets which you may have, the graphs, the charts, the reports, because a tool should also return you back with the information, what the project is going through and how exactly you can come up with some status report, etc. So putting it all together, this session was more about how to select a tool, what factors to consider, how to conduct a POC, and then start with a pilot project always, because you never know how things will go in reality with all the aspects, right? So that's all from this particular tutorial, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.